Who's going to spend the rest of his life with Terry McGee Volts and Hannah and Richard? Want to know? Got to watch this morning's Carolina People. Coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio. We're focused on Carolina People, and we're visiting with its former director for the first 2 years, Layne Harris. Good morning, Layne.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me
back.
back.
Thanks so much for coming in. It's amazing. You were with us a year ago, almost to the week.
Really?
As you were wrapping up your first 2 years on the show, and as you were heading into a new profession, or a new full-time profession, which was very exciting.
Working with the Hoffman Group, selling oceanfront condos. Best market in the country to be in.
How has that been, Layne, this last year?
It's been fantastic. I worked in real estate with Jacora in the 90s, 2 years as a property manager, and then 6 years in sales, working mainly in new home communities, new construction, doing a little bit of general brokerage, and had some good years there. And kind of looking back now, I kind of wish I'd never gotten out of it, because stepping in with the Hoffman Group. Great organization, great people, great management, and it's been really an answer to prayer for me.
That is
both personally and financially.
Oh yeah, and of course for you, having grown up a little south of Guilford County or right around there, and I think Hoffman Group's based out of.
Well, David Hoffman's from Greensboro.
Right.
So it's his hometown. He has residences all over the world and in several places now, but he's got a place at Southwind Condominium right there across from Pine Lakes that he comes and stays in most of the time when he comes down here. But his home is Greensboro.
Right.
I never knew him when I lived in Greensboro, but
right?
glad I know him now.
Wow. How long has he had the business, Layne?
Oh, he was selling condos back 18 years ago when
down here
when interest rates were 18%. He was selling condos when it wasn't cool to sell condos down here.
Wow.
And managed to keep his head above water, and he has just persevered and kept going, and has made a name for himself. I mean, this company only sells oceanfront condominiums, and we're oceanfront specialists, and he's carved a huge niche in this Myrtle Beach market. When people want to get something sold in Myrtle Beach, they knock on David Hoffman's door, because we get it done, and we get it done quick.
Wow, that is fabulous. Now, is Myrtle Beach the only place that Hoffman has a group that?
He's got a resort up in Pigeon Forge, outside of the resorts up in Sevierville and Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and they're doing a lot of new road construction up there, because to alleviate some of the traffic problems, just like we're doing here in Myrtle Beach, and we've got a nice resort there called Governor's Crossing. So he has already ventured into the mountains of Tennessee. He's looking at resorts over in Africa, up in Vancouver, Canada, in preparation for the '08 Olympics that are going to be coming there in the winter. He is really looking to take what he's done in Myrtle Beach and branch it out into a national company.
Wow, Layne, that is fabulous. But his real start was right here.
As long as I can stay here, I'm okay.
As long as you're going to go to Vancouver. Well, Vancouver would be nice, but Africa,
Myrtle Beach is
that's great.
I like to be right here.
And of course, your family's right here. Your 3 girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jordan's 19 now. She's working with Kim Griggs. They started a new interior design place called Notting Hill.
I didn't know that.
Over where the old Artworks used to be, in the old Winn-Dixie Shopping Center over there in Village Square. And she has just started with that, and I think that's really what her niche is, because she's really finding herself in colors and fabrics and working with people, and she's really excited about a career with Kim. Kim's been real good to her, and she's been blessed to have an opportunity to work under Kim Griggs there.
Right.
And then Brittany's a sophomore, just started school last week at Myrtle Beach High School.
Yes.
Basketball player, great violin player in the orchestra, straight A student.
Is that right?
She just
like father, like daughter.
I don't know about that, but and she worked hard this summer. She worked at a little jewelry store up at Barefoot Landing called Vanity, and saved up enough money for me and her mom to match it and get her a nice car. So she's got no car payment and a nice vehicle to ride.
Wow.
She's really looking forward to getting her license in December when she turns 16. And then Alex is 10, and Alex is my baby. She's a pistol. She's my buddy. We giggle and cut up all the time, and not that I don't do it with the other two, but I spend a lot of time with Alex. And
she's a good cuddler, absolutely.
Yeah, she is.
I bet she is. I remember the time, obviously, back at the summer of '03 when we were together at Camp Happy Days. She would have been 8 then.
That's right.
And, of course, the excitement to see her really enjoy being with the kids, many of them terminally ill, possibly living out their last days on this earth, and her interacting with them. And
she talks about that trip a lot. We talk about Camp Happy Days, and she remembers going off the end of that big balloon.
Oh, yeah.
And we used it in the
right,
closing credits on the shows.
That's exactly right.
That whole week of shows we have from Camp Happy Days, right when the credits got ready to roll the black, Alex just went boing up in the air. I
love it. I still
about 20
have
feet
those.
up in the air.
Absolutely. It's great that, to have gotten so many of the 3 years of tapes. When you think about how many weeks is that? 150 weeks or so, literally, of tapes. I've got those in the house, and it's great to think about going back to look at folks.
That takes up a lot of your time, though, doesn't it?
I haven't done it recently. Thank you, Layne. That's right.
That's a lot of tape.
Sure could.
Believe me, and I saw every one of them.
I know you did.
Twice.
At least for 2 years. That's exactly right. I know. It's amazing to think how many more of those have been done, and it'll be fascinating at some point many years from now to be able to go back and look at this last week as we think about Hilda is planning on being with us tomorrow. And, of course, Donald was with us yesterday, and it'll be exciting since Hilda and Donald are the ones who really turned the screws and said this is the right thing to do and it'll be good for the community.
Well, I am truly honored, and I want to thank you, Fox 43, all the folks who have been loyal viewers of this program for all 3 years. You stuck your neck out, and I think you've been rewarded for what it's done for Fox 43 and the station and yourself personally. I'm honored to be here, and I'm just honored that you would invite me back to help you wrap this puppy up.
Yeah, Layne, absolutely. Speaking of wrapping things up, y'all wrapped up a tremendous year last year, Coastal Carolina. Of course, you're wearing that shirt. Folks can't see your ring, but you got to hold that up. You got to hold that up. That was for y'all winning what?
This was the Big South Conference Championship ring, and as I tell everybody that asks me, I said I didn't miss a tackle all year. I didn't make one, but I didn't miss one. But it was. I'm proud of it. I wear it proudly. And I was talking to Tyler Thigpen today. We had a media conference at Coastal Carolina. He's a starting quarterback, and I played quarterback in high school. And I was talking to him, and I was telling him how much, because I went to school in Chapel Hill, and I bleed true blue, basketball, baseball, football, everything with the Tar Heels. But I'm really starting to find myself really living and dying with these guys. And when I'm up in the booth calling the games with Matt Hogue and Joe Cash down on the sidelines, I get excited when they do good. It ruins my week when they do bad. Right. Fortunately, last year, they only did bad 1 week. They finished we came up with a 10-1 season. We've won 8 straight games.
Wow.
And it was a lot of folks said it was because we played a weak schedule, and we did play a weak schedule, especially compared to the schedule they're going to play this year. Right. We're just coming off of a game at Elon this Saturday, and I hope we did good.
You're letting some secrets out.
I'm sorry, but it's going to be a great season. David Bennett is an extraordinary leader of young men. And these young men have responded to him over the last 2 years. And as I've been telling folks, if they improve as much from last year to this year as they did from year 1 to year 2, we'll be okay. But we've got some quality opponents on our schedule this year, so it's going to be a tough road to hoe for Coastal Carolina.
Oh, God, Layne, and just hearing that Coastal Carolina name, A, such a great name, B, being a Carolina alum, the Northern Carolina, the UNC alum, and C, knowing that the new basketball coach on board is another UNC alum.
I'm going to tell you something. Anytime you want to turn your basketball program around, you hire a Tar Heel. That's the first step, getting things going right.
That's right. The new coach at UNC Chapel Hill now is a Tar Heel alum. Is that right? Or
Roy Williams.
Roy Williams.
Assistant coach under Dean Smith, played under Dean Smith. Buzz Peterson played with Michael Jordan back in the early 80s. And Buzz has had a nice history at Appalachian State. Didn't fare too well in Tennessee record-wise, but I think anybody that knew Buzz in Tennessee would attest to his ability to lead young men, and that's what they're looking for him to do here at Coastal Carolina. And he's made a commitment to this community, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance to meet Buzz and talk with him. And I love the opportunity to do some of their basketball games with Matt Hogue on the radio.
Wayne Gray was with us as the new board chairman for the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce recently, and said that y'all are still out every Sunday. Obviously, this past Sunday, day before Labor Day, y'all are out there pounding it out.
That's right.
How do you do it? Still get out? That's at Pepper Gettings?
No, we play at the YMCA over on 65th Avenue at the bypass. We have a group. John Erlenbach an old friend of ours, Links Illustrated, which runs here on Fox 43 early in the morning.
That's right, early in the morning.
John produces that show, and he has some connections at the YMCA. I think his wife used to be a trainer at the Y.
Oh, great.
And he knows all the Joe and all the people over at the Y, and he's got a key. And we open it. This is not for public knowledge, so don't you guys just come over there, because once we get 15 people on the court, that's it. Because that way one team sits out for one game and that's it. But we've been playing. We started playing in North Myrtle Beach, then it just got a little too ruckus up there. So we decided to come down, and we started going to Myrtle Beach High School. Now, Buddy Rogers, who's the head basketball coach at Myrtle Beach High, is Wayne's uncle.
Right.
So Buddy's a gym rat. And Buddy would come in, open up the gym, and we'd go in there and play on that beautiful Myrtle Beach High School floor, and we just had some great games. Then Buddy got married. So Buddy's got things to do on Sunday. That's right. He's got things to do. He didn't have to come in and wash uniforms on Sunday. So we had to find another place to play. John found the Y, and we've got some ex-college basketball players. We had a guy that's been playing with us. He's heading over to Europe to play.
You're kidding.
So I mean, this is some serious basketball, and when you got 15 guys in there, nobody wants to sit down. So we play, by 1 point a bucket to 12, and it gets vicious out there.
That could be very exciting for folks to come out.
Oh,
it could be a great show.
I don't know about that, but it's fun. I'm out there, and I can hit a shot every once in a while, but I'm out there for the exercise. I love to run. I couldn't stand to jog. I have to run up and down the road. That's just too monotonous for me. But if I can get out and play basketball for a couple hours, it's good cardio. And the last time I had a checkup, the doctor said, "What do you do for a living? What do you do for exercise?" I play basketball as much as I can. He said, "Keep it up." He said,
absolutely.
He said I had one of the lowest blood pressures he'd ever seen in a 45-year-old man. So
get down, Layne. Letting that out. More secrets. That's right. More secrets. I love it. And even more exciting, your alma mater will be playing here when Coastal Carolina opens their new arena.
That's what they say.
Against Buzz and his crew, which is very exciting.
Christen it with Carolina Blue.
I'm sure Buzz will try to get some other folks down here to help celebrate that first year as well.
This will be an interesting season for Buzz. I look forward to seeing some great improvement in that program. Love Pete Strickland to death. Love the type of person he was, the type of man he was. Kind of semi-disappointed that he got shown the door, but it's a business. It's college basketball and college sports is a business. As I learned when I played in Chapel Hill, and you gotta take care of the bottom line, and I'm sure that's what the administration at Coastal Carolina is doing by bringing Buzz in, and I'm sure he'll do well.
Layne, of course, you've been associated with Lucky Dog and Donald, and as you said, that time when you left Decorah, and I think you went up to Charlotte for a little while. Is that right? You went up and helped on the Panthers.
Actually, I did all that before I came back to school.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Donald and I met, 22 years ago at least.
Wow.
83, working at Cox Cable. We had this was a local origination station, which was WCOX. It just got bought out by Cox Cable, and then we turned it into WCOX. And we did a lot of local programming, dance contests from Studebakers.
Right.
We did Myrtle Beach High School football. I was doing color commentary on local Myrtle Beach games back when Wayne Gray was quarterback.
You're kidding.
No, I called Wayne Gray's games when he was a quarterback at Myrtle Beach High School. Jeff McMurray and I did those games. We rebroadcast them on Saturday morning. We did local talk shows, comedy shows. We did a lot of local commercial production, and that was really when Donald came in and really got his creative juices going to help us build the client base and build revenues for Cox Cable, and made Cox Cable one of the I think only behind San Diego, California, is one of the most profitable LOs in the whole Cox Cable system.
Wow.
And then from that, Donald broke off and started his own production company. Worked with him there a little while, and then at that stage, after Jordan was born, packed it up, moved to Columbia, and worked at WOLO in Columbia as a creative services director, producing commercials and television shows and programs, and then Cy Bayhackle, who owned WOLO, who used to be a state senator in North Carolina, also was a minority owner in the Charlotte Hornets.
Is that right?
And at a Christmas party, I guess it was '85 maybe, Christmas party, Butch Wilson, who was a production manager for him up in Charlotte, came down and listen, I won't say I got down on my knees and begged, but I wanted to go to Charlotte and do NBA because I'm a basketball nut. I love basketball, even the NBA. And he said he had an opening for a producer and director to come up and produce and direct the coaching show for the Charlotte Hornets, and I said, let's go. And I jumped on that opportunity and spent the first 2 years with with them there producing the Dick Harder Show, who was the first head coach of the Hornets, and then the Gene Little Show in their third year.
Rita Littles O'Neill, who of course had been with us when we filmed down in Charleston, the general manager of WCSC down in Charleston. It was fascinating as we're sitting there leading up in November.
What was the name of the place in Charleston we were at that day?
We were at the place, the Ludens.
Ludens, exactly.
Ludens.
And I was sitting there, I was behind, doing the interview, and I know that woman.
Yeah.
How do I know that woman? And then all of a sudden you called her Rita Littles.
Right. Rita Littles
O'Neill. And last name. And I said, "You're Gene Little's wife."
Oh,
yeah. I'm Layne Harris. I used to do his show. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I remember you."
I love it.
And those are the kind of things we had on the set at Coastal Carolina. You would meet people, you'd talk to people. And that's one of the great things about this show, that you really, in the 30-some minutes you spend with people, you're really able to get them to open up and talk about things, and then you find the 6 points of separation where it ties into you eventually somehow, or somebody you know. And I think that's what's important about the kind of TV you're doing here.
I'm sorry, as you think back, I think back to that first week exactly 3 years ago, Layne, August 28th, and of course you've shared a couple things with viewers this morning. If they hadn't figured it out, they'd be sleeping a little late in the mornings probably. But of course, you shared that you were on a conference call with Taylor Thigpen today.
Tyler. Actually, I talked with him personally. It's David Bennett's weekly conference.
Sure.
Up at the Brooks Stadium, and Tyler was there doing interviews. And after we had a couple Chick-fil-A sandwiches, we just got together and started talking a little.
Good. Yeah. Well, it ties into the fact that sometimes we'll tape in advance, and we'll tape a week in advance, and obviously. We've made those efforts. Of course, you talked about Elon. That's a game that will happen this weekend, but we're talking about as if it happened last weekend, and that yesterday was Labor Day.
Yeah.
It's fascinating as we think about that. On August 28, 02, first filming up there at the PD Area Council, the Service Center up there for the Boy Scouts, and it was incredible as we laid that out. And I remember, of course, you and Keith driving up separately. Donald may have been with y'all.
Yeah, Donald came up with us.
Of course, I remember he came up. I don't remember if y'all all rode together, but that was and at that time there was a young woman, Brianna, who was with Loretta, the former producer, and myself driving up. I came across some of the questions she was writing out literally that day as we drove up to help keep me focused. But you think at that time, Layne, we were doing 15 guests at every sitting. 3 guests every morning.
A lot to bite off and chew. A lot of set changes, and you think also, we went up there. We were probably there 2.5 hours before we were supposed to go on the air.
Oh yeah.
Because we didn't know what we were going to run into. We tried to anticipate everything. We had everything ready to go in time. But when we got down, last year I was there. I don't know how. I mean, it takes us 45 minutes to set up now.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a lot, we learned a lot as we went through that, and this has been a big feather in Donald's cap at Lucky Dog Productions, and I'm sure he's going to hate to see this run in for you too.
Tough for everyone. You think back, Layne, and you may think of some particularly exciting episodes or particularly exciting guests. If you think back over the time, obviously thinking about the experiences there with Alex and all of us being at Camp Happy Days, the camp over there a good ways out, I guess, between Charleston and here, but it was up maybe between here and Columbia. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it's fascinating when you think about...
Close to Manning, I think.
Close to Manning, that's right. Yeah. Close to Manning. You think about experiences, not only impromptu stuff like that, or the Carolina Idol filming over at Myrtle Square Mall.
That was a very unique
where we were having to do folks right as they were coming off of their prep stuff to try to get on American Idol.
Our second week of shows after the week at the Boy Scout at the fire station in Florence.
With the police chiefs and fire chiefs.
All the big speak blaring over
our
interviews.
Couldn't get that turned down.
Well, you can't
get that turned down. And it is fascinating as you highlight that over the last year. We've been filming primarily in O'Ree. Partly because of the tie into the purchase of the Herald and wanted to be closer to home. Still have made some trips up into the PD, but surely not as many as we used to.
Don't have to fight any mosquitoes in here.
That's right. Like out there at the Camp Wildlife Action up there, Bunny Beeson's camp, and of course Rochelle and Kim, and I can't remember who was up there with us this year, but that was very exciting this past...
It was fun going to Coastal Carolina. I think that might have been maybe the 4th or 5th week of the season, right before the Cancer Walkathon.
That's right.
And that was the first time I'd gotten to meet Dave Bennett.
Is that
the coach at Coastal Carolina? He was one of our guests on that week, and had the opportunity to see what he was all about. And when you talk to him, I think that was a 14 or 15 minute interview.
Right.
walked up to him after the interview was over and shook his hand and told him, I'm doing the color on your ball games, and since realized a wonderful relationship with him and his program, and just things like that really you look back on and you go, this was work, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, Ron Engel was with us that day, of
Exactly.
course, as well, and to have the experiences to share. We think back to occasions like that, and I go back to a filming up at Francis Marion when we were there in the boardroom off of Fred Carter, Dr. Carter's office, and have had Ed Young, former congressman, traveling over, Hugh Leatherman at the time, now Senate Finance Chairman, Billy Alford driving up from Myrtle Beach, and have had folks come in to commit times for 8-minute segments then, Layne. Much like what River Talk does now, but those 8-minute segments, and the folks who drive an hour and a half to get the word out about the charity or choice that they've been involved in.
And it also says something about, for Fox and yourself and Carolina People, that they're able to pull those people, all the way up to Florence. The guy getting in the car and driving from Myrtle Beach for an 8-minute interview just so he can say what he needs to say to get his message out, because he thinks this show is important enough for me to take 8 minutes out of my busy day so I can deliver a message that will help my charity, help my cause, or whatever it is I'm trying to promote.
Right, absolutely, Layne. It's so fascinating when you think about aspects like that. What was it early on in your life that got you interested in getting behind a camera or getting in front of a camera?
It's kind of a funny story. I don't know how much time we got.
No, we got 5 minutes.
Okay, good. It's because I'm going to take it off. No, I'm just
take it. We want to hear it.
Excuse me. I have to get my Better Blue in.
Yeah, thank you.
Sparkling natural mountain spring water.
That's right.
The Blue Ridge Mountains.
Near Bald Mountain,
this stuff is great.
It is amazing. I'm sorry we slowed down on that production, but
anyway, I'd walked on the football team at Carolina, and the fall of my sophomore year had a shoulder injury from tackling 280-pound fullbacks, which is hazardous to your health. You hadn't figured that out yet. I figured it out, and I was injured. And while up in the announcer's booth with the coaches, watching up in the coaches' booth with them, barking out plays and talking to the coaches down the sidelines, I look over and I see Woody Durham. Now, Woody Durham at the time was the news anchor on WFMY TV and Channel 2 in Greensboro, my hometown.
Sure.
So I see him every night. See him at football games, and he's a cause celeb in Greensboro. So I see him over there, and he's been the voice of the Tar Heels since Dirt was young, and he's over there calling games. And I'm watching him. He's got all the players' names and heights and weights and hometowns and stats, and he's got his color guy. I didn't look at the color guy when he watched him. I was watching Woody. I looked at Woody, and I watched him just calling the game, having fun, calling out names and numbers, and you could hear him through the glass. And I looked at him, and after a while I went, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And I went and took my first radio and television production class the next semester, excuse me.
Right.
And I never forgot, I was sitting in, it was, I can't remember the professor's name, but she sat up there and said, if you're here to make money, you need to stop at the business school before you get to Swain Hall. And you know what? She was right. But I'm going to tell you something. Television and this coastal thing I'm doing on the radio, this is the first time I've ever worked in radio doing the coastal games, because I've had, most of my experience has been in television and film. Television is the most fun work because it's different. You can do something different every day, whether you're working with a different client, a different customer, a different production. You don't get tedious, monotonous type of work, and I've really enjoyed it, even though I've spent a majority of my career behind the camera. I've been fortunate enough to get the opportunity to be in front of a camera, and I'm just lucky enough that my dad was a coach, and I had enough playing experience in high school and college that I can communicate the game to people. And I hope the people that listen to us on the coastal games and watch our Conway games on TV that show on Sunday afternoons enjoy my call of the games, because I try to add some fun to it. I try to make it exciting for folks, especially on the radio, because you have to paint that picture on the radio. You have to kind of describe things in a way that where people can see what's happening. And Matt and I and Joe, we all have a great time with each other. And if you haven't listened to our games on the radio,
what radio station they play?
It's on the team,
network.
93.9 FM. There's probably 7 or 8 radio stations that we broadcast to all over the eastern side of the state of South Carolina. But if you're here locally, the team, 93.9 FM, check it out in the Herald.
Sure.
If you're not putting the radio in there, you need to be putting the radio in there.
Absolutely, we should.
Because if people can't go to the games and when they play on the road, but if they're at home, you need to come to Brooks Stadium. If you haven't been to Brooks Stadium yet in the 3 years, this is a great season to come do that, especially this coming Saturday.
That's right.
They play James Madison University, the defending 1AA national champs, at Brooks Stadium. If you ever want to see a football game, a quality football, and I hope most of the quality is going to be on the coastal side of the ball, this would be a great game to come to.
You're right. This Saturday is the opener for the year.
This Saturday is a home opener for Brooks Stadium. James Madison University, 7 o'clock at Brooks Stadium. Be there. Or if you can't be there, listen to us on the radio.
Great plug for Coastal Carolina. Thank you, Layne. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for everything you did to make this a successful show.
It's been a great pleasure for me.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Layne Harris coming up next. You know, you think of the exciting things with Layne. We got to talk about the color commentating for Coastal Carolina. We got to talk a little bit about even the play-by-play for Conway High School. You got to hear him say those things. We didn't get to talk about some of the exciting things that we got into about a year ago. You know, his dad raising goats and dabbling in real estate. We didn't get to hear him talk about his 3 brothers like we did last year. You know, Layne behind the scenes doing so many things for the first 2 years of this show to really make it happen. He and Keith every week up there making sure everything was just right so that you could enjoy and heard him talk about getting the message out. Somebody needing to get a message out about the American Cancer Society or fighting heart disease and stroke or saving babies together. Those messages have been important not only to us but to so many other people. It was an opportunity. Carolina People set the stage to really get it out. Of course, Layne's got so many loves in his life. You got to hear him talk about his 3 daughters and those particular aspects. You got to hear him talk even off camera about Terry and of course their entire family that are making such a difference. It's amazing. It's the love of life that you see in his smile, and you hear him talking about it when he talks about the players on the field. You can catch him on the radio on the team 93.9 and the PD. You can probably hear him somewhere as well, and up in the southeastern North Carolina. He's a Tar Heel boy that's made the Palmetto State his home. Catch him.